This is the Horror Movie Show on HMPod.com, hosted by Jerry and Mark, your one-stop shop for all horrible movie reviews. From the latest blockbusters and independent films to classics, let Mark and Jerry convince you the world is a dangerous place, though often good for a laugh. Now come and listen to the Horror Movie Show, if you dare.
Howdy folks, Jerry here.
And Mark.
Bringing you another episode of the Horror Movie Show on HMPod.com. We've got a whole slew of new movies, but a couple of things we want to mention first off. We're going to haul ourselves back a bit, even though there's more horror movies than ever being produced. We are going to go to it every 2 week.
Oh, yeah.
For the next little while, we may come back as a weekly, but until we can get some advertising money coming in or something like that, we just can't afford to keep this level of production up.
Yeah. And plus it's very taxing.
Yeah.
To do this many reviews on so many movies.
Yeah.
So we're going to take it a little bit easier.
Unlike many shows where they talk for 2.5 hours about one movie, I couldn't find that much to say about most movies.
Unless you actually participated in making it.
Yeah, I don't get it. Or we were drinking through the whole show.
Yeah. Why not just play the movie and
just guzzle?
Guzzle, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, we got a whole slew of new movies. Maybe even no, not this show. No old ones. They're all 2014, 2015 movies. Okay, let's begin with a very funny vampire movie. It's being compared favorably to Shaun of the Dead for vampires instead of zombies. It's called What We Do in the Shadows. It's from 2014, written and directed by Jemaine Clement and Taika Waititi. Jemaine Clement is the larger, glasses-wearing half of the Flight of the Conchords.
Which is?
They're in a New Zealand comedy show. They're musicians. They write very funny parodies of
So they're a comedy duo, or?
Yeah, Jemaine and I can't remember the name of his partner. He's not in this movie, but another one of the group is, and that is Rhys Darby, who plays Anton, like the leader of the little werewolf pack.
Right.
Yeah, funny little weed. He played in Flight of the Conchords. He played their manager.
Right.
And completely useless little New Zealand Kiwi twit he was, too.
And this is a New Zealand film as well.
Yeah, this is out of New Zealand. I think the co-writer and director Taika Waititi I think that's pretty obviously a Polynesian
type name.
Maori type name, yeah. So what it is just 4 vampires sharing a house.
A flat, yeah.
Yeah. They just got an old musty house, and
they do go into the backgrounds of these guys and how they ended up in New Zealand, because some of them are centuries old.
Yes. Well, one of them, Peter, is 8,000 years old, and he's passed far beyond anything resembling human. He looks like Nosferatu.
Yeah, that's right. And he stays in the. I forgot about him.
Oh, he's great.
He's in the basement.
He comes to
tomb.
a real bad end. Yeah.
And then you have the 3 guys that live upstairs.
Yeah, and they're only a few hundred years old.
Yeah.
So they're not as out of it as the others.
What I find about them is that they progress to a certain age.
Right.
And their mentality for new computerized world that we live in, they just haven't grasped it.
No, they're old-fashioned guys.
It's like they're our moms and dads from the 50s, and that's as far as they've gone.
Or the 1800s.
Yeah.
The other thing about them, of course, is they make jokes about, biting children. Well, then they stay children forever, so you're really not doing them a favor.
No.
Or maybe you are. Maybe it is a good thing to make them perpetual children.
It's interesting because they don't like new people.
No.
And they do have this rivalry going with the werewolves, which I thought was kind of interesting how this movie has werewolves. It has zombies.
Yeah.
It has witches.
Yes.
And so it has all the creatures of the night kind of in it. And they all have their little mannerisms, their idiosyncrasies.
Well, they're each like a little club.
Yeah.
Little club
They don't want to be
membership.
known by the humans. They just want to be on the fringe.
That's right.
So their nightlife is
secret.
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
because they have their little clubs that only they can get into.
Contests and parties.
Yep, and then every once in a while they all get together and have one big annual party.
And if you're a human invited to that, it's probably bad news.
Yes,
some of them are going to be hungry.
Yes, and chances are you'll end up on the menu that night. Yeah. So it's quite a funny movie.
It is. It's very dark, very silly. Not overly violent, although there's some gore in it, which is but it's done for humorous effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a total comedy.
Oh yeah.
It's just a funny,
very
goofy kind of take on the supernatural.
Yes.
It centers around these 4 vampires and a newly made vampire.
Yeah, sort of accidentally. Peter can't control himself. 8,000-year-old horrible-looking Peter. So, while the other 3 just expect to keep this human around as a buddy, actually one of them doesn't even like him, but they don't want to make him one of them. But Peter can't help himself. He jumps on anything that moves, bites it, and turns it into a vampire.
So the new vampire has a friend that's kind of like a computer geek.
Yeah, he's kind of cool, though.
Yeah, and they really like him. Much more than they like the new vampire.
The new vampire, who's just a pest.
Yeah, and so they tolerate the new guy because he has a real cool friend. Well, he's not even cool in the sense that... He's
cool
a nerd
compared to them.
Yeah, he's a nerd
because they're so uncool with their dirty fringed shirts and lace and stuff.
Yeah, and
they're just idiots.
He's teaching them how to do Facebook and how to do email and things like that. Yeah. And then he also brings them to the clubs,
right?
Which some of the clubs they never could get into, and suddenly they can get into these in clubs with all the women. Yeah. And so it's quite funny. It is. And I love how the werewolves are so polite.
Yes.
They're just meticulously clean and polite. Yes. Yeah. And they run in a pack, of course. Yeah. But it's the humor is like they just blurt out these weird niceties all the time.
The other funny thing is that they do parody. What's the Anne Rice book? Interview with a Vampire a little bit. The faded elegance of them all. They're a seedy bunch.
I really recommend this movie for anybody who likes a funny movie.
A funny horror, yeah.
It's just very entertaining.
It is. I like Jemaine Clement.
And the look of the movie is really nice. It's all kind of dusty, old
musty
Victorian kind of inside in the house and things like that.
So one of the oldest houses in New Zealand.
Yeah.
He used.
And I like the fact that the guy ends up in New Zealand, the guy, the 800-year-old guy, because he's chasing after a woman who he takes the wrong boat and ends up coming months later than he anticipated, and she's gone on and married someone else in the meantime. Yeah. So he's lost his love of his life, and she's like 90 now. Yeah. And he still pines for her.
Yes, it's very sad.
He watches her in the nighttime as she's in her room from the window.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Yes, yeah. Well, let's move on to a movie that is sad in a completely different way. The Taking of Deborah Logan, another movie from last year, directed by Adam Robitel, written by Robitel and Gavin Heffernan. It stars Jill Larson as Deborah Logan, her character is a dementia-ridden old lady. She's playing older than the actress really is, but she looks like a really old lady. Anne Ramsey plays Sarah Logan, Michelle Ang plays Mia Medina, Ryan Catrona plays Harris, and Anne Bedian plays Dr. Nazir. It's interesting. The idea of this movie, I think, is that the demons out to possess people will attempt to find an easy in. So here's this old woman who's slipping in and out of dementia. So she's relatively easy for the demon to take over.
The movie,
and she displays great strength and, crawling up walls and all the possessed stuff that we've seen before.
The movie starts off in a documentary style, where a group of kids are doing a documentary on Alzheimer's.
Right.
And they want to interview this girl's mother,
Right.
who showing the first signs of dementia. It's the weird things that happen to them in the house with this lady.
Yeah.
And the supernatural things start happening more and more and more. And finally, they realize that she doesn't have Alzheimer's. She's cursed of some sort of curse.
I do think it's both. I think the point is that, like in The Exorcist, Captain Howdy, Pazuzu, whatever the demon's name is, takes over Reagan because she's an innocent 12-year-old. In this movie, it's a relatively innocent old lady who hasn't got her faculties to even know what's going on. But, there's an intelligence inside of her that has nothing to do with the old lady scheming.
The demon is trying to fulfill a ritual.
Right.
He needed 5 bodies.
Right.
And he only could get 4.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get the 5th body.
It's been a long time coming.
To finish this ritual so that he could manifest himself on this plane.
Yeah, something like that. They've always got some scheme.
So
those demons.
You get these little hints of what's going on. They do the research on the house and the area, and they find out there was murders that were conducted decades before, and and there was some sort of commonality or connection between what this woman was doing and these murders, and they're trying to battle the demon within the woman
at the same time. For
so
sure.
it's a big budget movie. Bryan Singer produced it.
X-Men
and Superman fame.
Right.
It's very slick.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
And I enjoyed it because it was a very dark mystery horror flick.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say a lot of surprises. An interesting take in that the victim is an old lady,
and she can be really frightening.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's these.
Well, who isn't frightened of old women anyway?
That's true. When they just sit there with a blank expression on their face, and you're trying to make contact with them, and suddenly they just kind of jump out.
Yes.
And they start walking the walls
flinging
and
cookies at you and weak tea.
And boil everything.
Yeah. So Jill Larson does a really good job playing old Deborah Logan. She's very scary at times, and the demon, which seems to be at least partially snake, there's a scene where it tries to swallow her entire from the head down. With the unhinged jaw.
Yeah, they come around the corner and there's this...
It's pretty horrible.
Oh, yeah, she's got her unhinged jaw, but she snaps into place real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're looking for the 5th, and it has to be a child.
Yeah.
She's put in the hospital, and she kidnaps one of the children in the hospital.
They don't keep her locked up very well.
No. So she ends up kidnapping a child at the hospital. No,
that's right. Several times. Yeah, the same little kid.
Yeah, and the parents of the kids are going nuts trying to find it. And she's about 8 or 7 around there.
The kid, yeah.
And then the kid is just walking in a trance next to her all the time.
Yeah, the kid's half possessed herself.
And then she tries to swallow her.
Eat the child entire. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's good. This movie did quite well with the critics when it came out last year, or at least the critics of horror movies. I'd say it's worth watching. Well, let's move on to our next movie. This is a low budget, written and directed by James Cullen Bressack, who's still... dare I say, a kid. He's still just in his early 20s. He's already made several feature films. This is, of the ones I've seen a couple of his, this is the best one I've seen so far. So he continues to get better. It's a 2015 movie titled Pernicious. It stars Sierra Hanna as Alex, Emily O'Brien as Julia, and Jackie Moore as Rachel. Now, 2 of those girls are sisters. They're all 3 very attractive. And the idea is that they are sort of teachers. They're coming to Thailand.
They're English. They're going to teach English to the local students.
Yeah, so they're not exactly saving the world, but they're on an adventure and they're going to do what they can.
You give me your take on this movie.
Because First and foremost, they steam up the river to the house where they're going to be staying.
Yes.
And the one sister who's cynical about everything, she's talking about what a dump it is. It's gorgeous. It's like a beautiful mansion on the river, and they're complaining about it. I couldn't understand why. I'd love to stay in that.
I wanted to kill these 3 women.
Did you? Yeah.
Oh, they remind me of Valley girls. They were dressed in shorts and high heels. They're going to Thailand. They're going to be teaching English to foreigners, and they're dressing like they're going to the mall. And not only do they dress like that, the first thing they do after they settle into their housing is they go to the mall. And they do their little shopping and the handbags. They buy handbags and shoes. And I just watched it the other day. It drove me nuts. I wanted to kill these women. It's like if these women really did what they were supposed to do, you would think that they were more worldly people.
But that's it. They're not supposed to be.
They're just shallow.
But they're just supposed to be like 3 little California bimbos who are in Thailand to do a little teaching.
But bimbos wouldn't do that.
What do you mean? That's what bimbos do. They shop.
No, I mean, they wouldn't go to Thailand.
Well, who knows?
And teach English.
It's a job.
It's just...
Anyway, not all 3 of them are idiots. I really think only one of them is a completely vapid idiot.
Yeah,
the other 2 are somewhat intelligent.
So after they do their shopping... They go disco clubbing.
Yeah.
And this is in Thailand in the middle of...
So they're 20 years old. They're having fun. I don't understand what your problem is. They're supposed to be nuns?
No, I'm just saying I wanted to kill them. That's all. I just didn't like them at all.
Jeez. Okay,
as
so
people.
Girls having fun, no good for Mark.
No.
The scary part of the story has to do with this statue that's in the house. And a statue of a little golden girl. And it's being moved around. Something's happening to it. They don't know what's going on. They're having wild dreams, and there's all kinds of like sacrifices going on. They're murdering young men, and they're picking up young men at the club and bringing them home. And it looks like the men are going to be the aggressors, but it turns out that the women drug them. But the women aren't really in control of themselves. They're possessed by spirits in this
they have this
house they're living in.
A really horrid scene where all 3 of the women are killing whoever they're matched up with from the boys. Yeah. And the boys all end up terrible, terrible deaths.
Yeah,
and then the next morning, everything's cleaned up, and it was like a nightmare for them. The girls have no idea that they've done anything.
They don't believe that it really happened. Yeah.
And then it goes on from there.
Okay, I think Mark didn't like this one.
I just didn't care for them whatsoever, and I just thought it
was quite fun.
Did you?
I thought the music harked back.
It started off really cool.
The music harked back. It reminded me of the early John Carpenter music in his early movies. I thought it
there was a lot of nice camera work with drones.
Yeah,
they're flying all over the place and taking these aerial shots. Yeah. I mean, it looked good.
Right.
But I just thought these women...
Didn't like the women.
I just thought they were out of their element.
Right.
It's like Valley Girl meets the demonness.
Oh, dear.
To me.
Don't like that.
Anyways. And then they have these neighbors. His father comes into the house of the girls.
It's a Thai family who lives next door.
Yeah.
They seem to have some connection with the house.
Yeah. The old man comes in, and his son comes running in after, and right away he starts talking Taiwanese to these blonde, wonderful, beautiful women.
Yeah.
And he probably should realize that they are from America, so why would he speaks perfect English, so he's trying to speak, Thai first before English, which I thought was really dumb.
He didn't speak any English.
Yes, he did.
The old man didn't speak English.
No, I'm talking about his son.
Oh. Well,
the son starts talking to them in Thai. Right. It's like, I know that they're from America.
I think you're nitpicking. It's all supposed to add to the local flavor. Of course he's going to speak his language first. That's what he speaks. And they're in his country, so, you try him on Thai.
No, I just thought it just didn't make sense.
Okay. All right.
They just didn't look like they could speak Thai.
I think you're being very, very shallow about that. I think it's a better movie. Let's get on to the next movie, Residue, 2015 movie, directed by Alex Garcia Lopez, written by John Harrison. Stars Natalia Tena as Jennifer Preston, Eve Ewan, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, strange Welsh name. Ewan Rheon as Jones, Jamie Draven as Levi Mathis, Danny Webb as Emerald Benedict, and Franz Drama as Willie G, who's sort of a shadowy figure. This movie was a 3-part, I think it was Netflix production, which didn't get picked up, so they re-edited it and just wound up making this sort of movie.
Oh.
A feature out of the 3-hour pilot episodes. The idea is that it's sort of London in the future, and some kind of weird explosion has occurred, and the authorities have locked down this huge chunk of the city.
The middle of the city.
Yeah.
Under quarantine.
Quarantine zone, they call it the QZ. And the movie is mostly about Natalia Tena's character, Jennifer, who's a photographer and a journalist, and she's just sort of sneaking around in the forbidden areas. Well, she notices that any photograph that she takes around the edge of this thing invariably shows that people, like ghosts in her photographs and stuff.
Yeah, there's this dark
things.
mist that forms into faces
Yeah.
and things like that. There's all these things that are happening to these people. The people are going nuts all of a sudden, and they're doing terrible things like killing people or themselves or whatever.
During their families.
Yeah, and a few of the people that go nuts, she took pictures of them just before they went nuts, and that's when she starts noticing these.
Yeah,
these
she seems to be sort of a locus, like everything is happening around her.
Yeah.
Because every photo she takes, she's got pictures of these demonic ghosts.
So it's a very stylized movie.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't even tell you what city it is. But
no, it's very
Britain. I assume it's London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a slow-paced movie.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's mostly done at night.
Yeah.
And I found that
film noir.
Oh yeah, it's very the colors are all washed out to the point where it's just grays, black, and whites.
Yeah.
For most of the time, even though it's a color film.
Yeah.
So
that's not unusual. All those underworld movies are very like that.
Yeah.
Lots of blacks and browns and.
The opening credits reminded me of a Bond film. It had this music and this woman singing, and it had these really cool stylized images going all over the screen. It just reminded me of a Bond movie, and I said, well, this is kind of interesting, but it's not Bond-like at all.
No, not really. No. It's got a bit of style to it. I didn't dislike it. I agree. I thought it was a little slow, and I also didn't think that the ultimate payoff was as good as it could have been.
Yeah, that's my main criticism as well, is that it sort of ends before the ending should.
Well, that's because this was a pilot, and I don't think they tried to make a beginning, middle, and end out of this, but I don't think they'd shot enough ending scenes.
Because it seems to me that they left it for a sequel,
right? Or
they just didn't. They did, like you said. Yeah. I had no idea that they had re-edited it into something.
I think that's what happened.
Now I understand why the ending's the way it is, but it's not a very fulfilling ending.
No, I was disappointed with that.
So
it's fine performances, as Mark says. It looks good, but it's a little limp, a little bit of a wet noodle.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it had potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maybe if they would have gotten a couple more $100,000, they could have finished it off properly.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a pair of movies now that have one thing in common. They're both fantasies, and they both co-star Jeff Bridges. And the funny thing is that Jeff Bridges, playing an old man in both of these, an old wise man, he gets to do the same voice. He gets to do his old cowboy type voice that he puts on.
He didn't have such a drawl in Seventh Son.
Right.
But yeah, he does have
family.
It's the same family of voices.
Yeah. So the first is Seventh Son, 2015 movie, directed by Sergei Bordrov, written by Charles Levitt and Stephen Knight. It stars Bridges as Master Gregory, Ben Barnes as Tom Ward, who is another seventh son, which makes him especially magical for being used as what do they call him? Not
spook.
Spook, that's right. Yes,
a spook's apprentice.
Yeah, and the spook, who is Jeff Bridges, Master Gregory, they just they're like freelance exorcists. They look out for witches and
they're wizards.
Yeah, essentially. And the other movie, which we can say is sort of related that way, is The The Giver, a 2014 movie directed by Philip Noyce, written by Michael Mitnick and Robert Weed. Boy, they're both kinds of a mess, I would say, both these movies. Seventh Son gives you more to look at than The Giver. The Giver is, I would say, about the same level and aiming for the same audience as the Hunger Games movies.
Right.
The idea, it's very, very much a world of adolescence that we're plunged into. And The Giver, not unlike the Master in Seventh Son, The Giver is like the fount of truth. But in this artificial village where people, that's really like the whole world, they live in such a sterile environment, and not everybody learns all the truth. So The Giver is the one who contains the pure knowledge, and he only passes it on to one lucky kid.
Yeah. This is a futuristic tale.
Well, it is futuristic, or perhaps it's just pure fantasy, because it's very nonsensical. There's no equivalent. It's like the Hunger Games. How in God's name did humanity get to that point?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
There's only like a tiny percentage of the world to live in.
Yeah. These utopias, there's always...
Or dystopias.
Well, all the bad things in life have been taken away, but everything else, all happiness has been taken away as well.
Sure,
any kind of joy.
Yeah.
Follow the rules. The rules are there to make us survive.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
But survival isn't just to survive.
I know, it's horrible.
It's to live.
Yeah.
These utopias totally miss that point. You have to have some sort of pleasure in life.
And both these movies, Seventh Son and The Giver, God, I didn't realize that when I chose these two that I was just getting into more adolescent nonsense. I don't like watching kids' movies. You know,
they're both based on novels.
Well, novels.
Whatever.
What do they call it? Juvenile fiction.
I'm just saying they're based on books.
Yeah.
So there is some backstory there that you can tell that they touch upon these things in both of the movies.
Yeah.
I liked The Seventh Son. I don't know why. Yeah. I don't know why they named it The Seventh Son, because there was already another movie called The Seventh Son several years ago. I just think it's a stupid name for a movie that's already has a movie called that. The Spook's Apprentice is what the book's called. I think that's a better title than The Seventh Son.
But there's already a Something's Apprentice movie that came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but there's tons of them. But Spook's Apprentice is different than Seventh Son, which already exists.
Well, I think you're arguing apples and rotten apples.
I'm just saying that I watched the movie a couple times because it's in 3D and I love 3D, and it is a really great 3D thrill.
Which one?
Seventh Son.
Right.
It looks great in 3D, and actually the surround sound is really good in it too. They take the care to make it sound great.
But that doesn't make the story any better.
I liked the storyline as well.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did. I think it's a Saturday matinee type movie.
Okay. Terrible movie.
Matinee. It's like it reminded me of like Indiana Jones kind of stuff. The first Indiana Jones type movie where the monsters look great. There were great fight scenes in it.
But that's all it is special effects.
No, it isn't.
There's no good script.
There's a lot of backstory in it, too. Wow. There are discussions. You don't remember it probably because you haven't watched it for a while, but I do. I watched it just recently.
Good. It's just not that good a movie. It's for children. I am tired of movies for children.
It's not for children. It's for people who like adventure. Simple
Young
as that.
People who like adventure.
It's an adventure movie, and it moves along quite nicely. There's a good storyline there. I think the dialogue was funny. I thought the monsters were really entertaining, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Okay, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I certainly wouldn't recommend it. I thought it was obvious, and it's just a terrific cast. I don't mind Jeff Bridges. Julianne Moore plays the villainess, the witch, Mother Malkin. Who else is in that? Olivia Williams plays Mam Ward. She's like the good mum. And then there's sort of demonic types like Jemaine Clement, the African actor who plays Radu. And spooky-looking Jason Scott Lee plays Urag. Last thing I can remember Jason Scott Lee appearing in was having his eye gouged out by Kurt Russell in Soldier. futuristic movie.
Okay.
Well, all right. Mark liked it a lot more than I did. I thought it was tired and obvious and just aiming for the lowest common denominator as far as...
And I thought it was an entertaining adventure flick.
Wow. Okay. And The Giver, even slower and duller than...
I love this. Like I said, they have all these rules, and everybody figures if you follow the rules, everyone should be content.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the case. I like the fact that one guy who has to experience all the bad things in life. So it's like the Giver. The kid.
Brenton Thwaites plays Jonas.
He goes to the Giver, and the Giver imparts all the knowledge of all the atrocities of the world, so that we don't forget, but yet he's the only one that remembers and no one else remembers.
Right.
So it made no sense in that respect, I think. What's the advantage of having one person remember?
It's the truth keeper.
Yeah, but to what end?
I don't know.
Nobody wants to listen to him.
I don't know. It's another stupid story based on a children's book, and if it wasn't put in front of me as an easy-to-watch movie, I certainly wouldn't care to know this story. I just find these movies aimed at kids just plain dull. I want something that challenges me. I don't want just, pretty pictures paraded past me. I don't care if they look good in 3D. I just find
I'm saying it was entertaining.
Movies. Well, it wasn't entertaining to me.
You've gone to things like Pacific Rim.
Right.
Pacific Rim, you're sitting there saying this is a great movie. It's no different than The Seventh Son.
No, I thought it had a very good sense of humor about it.
Well, I thought The Seventh Son had a good sense of humor about it. You keep saying, wow. It was funny.
No, not to me. It was an absolute waste of my time. I'm so disappointed when you have Julianne Moore phoning in her scary performance, didn't like it. Let's talk about one more movie. This is another fantasy. The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, 2014. Directed, as always, by Peter Jackson. Written by Jackson, Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens. They're the three who wrote the Lord of the Rings movies. And for good or ill, Guillermo del Toro also had a hand in the script for this mess. It stars Martin Freeman as Bilbo Baggins, Ian McKellen as Gandalf, Richard Armitage as the invariably crabby leader of the dwarves Thorin, Ken Stott as Balin, his right-hand man, Orlando Bloom with his fake blue eyes as Legolas, who is nowhere to be seen in the original novel.
No.
Evangeline Lilly plays Tauriel, who is a made-up character, just so they could get a pretty girl mixed up with the hobbits and stuff.
You don't think Cate Blanchett's pretty?
No, I find her cold and imperious. She's more regal than pretty. Handsome, I think, rather than pretty. She plays Galadriel again. Hugo Weaving plays Elrond, the king of the fairies. Christopher Lee is Saruman, who only gives hints that he's turning evil. Ian Holm shows up as old Bilbo. Who else? We got Stephen Fry as the master of Lake Town. He gets his. Billy Connolly plays Dane, a sort of a Scots dwarf maniac.
Yeah, that was funny.
He's funny. And Benedict Cumberbatch plays both the voice of Smaug and the necromancer.
Who turns out to be, who we think he is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what's his? You got Saruman and Sauron. Yeah,
yes.
just to screw with us. So, I don't know. This is just sad. They should have just made one big movie out of the Hobbit story rather than desperately trying to inflate this up to be as big and dense and important as the Lord of the Rings trilogy was.
Yeah.
Because this whole Battle of Five Armies, I don't think it's in the book. It's a long time since I read The Hobbit.
It is in the book.
Okay.
But not the way...
But it isn't a third of the book. It isn't like, the be-all and end-all, this fight with the dwarves.
I believe it does take a big chunk of the end.
Well, I'm going to have to take a look at my copy of The Hobbit.
It doesn't end with Smaug dying. It ends with the Battle of the Five Armies.
He doesn't... Smaug dies at the beginning of this one.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. I know, but in the book I'm talking.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the book.
Smaug... They made up all kinds of crap and the horrible songs that they've put into the first movie, and it's just
No, those songs
a lot
existed.
of yammering.
The melody might not have existed, but the lyrics are right from the book.
I don't think they're exactly. It's too hammy.
They're there. They're in the book. So it's like
that.
You don't like the book. I guess.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said I do like the book. What I'm saying is inflating a relatively small children's book into the size and expected depth of the Lord of the Rings, which is a huge trilogy.
Yes.
Each volume of that is three times bigger than The Hobbit.
This isn't just The Hobbit. This is prequel to The Lord of the Rings. That's what it is. And so
one would have been enough.
Yeah, I know, but why do one when you can do three and make billions more dollars?
Well, because they watered down and they degraded the whole franchise. I think it's so cynically a money grab that, I don't know, Peter Jackson doesn't have good taste or judgment.
I disagree. I like Lord of the Rings.
Have you seen any of his early movies?
Yeah, I have.
Seen the Muppet parody?
I saw King Kong. I liked King Kong.
No, his early movies.
And I liked the one that the Frighteners. Frighteners was good with Michael.
He did that.
Yeah, he did.
He do that?
Yeah.
Did you see the one that was the Muppet parody?
No. Yes, actually, I watched 10 minutes of it, and I agree that's pretty bad.
So childish. It's so mean-spirited and ugly. So I think my major complaint would be that you have these characters that we came to really like in The Lord of the Rings, Gandalf and Orlando Bloom's Legolas, and the royalty, the Cate Blanchett, Hugo Weaving, Christopher Lee. But it's so cynical, this squeeze to wring 3 movies out of this small and lovely book. And one really great Hobbit movie would have been a beautiful prequel to The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I agree to some extent what you're saying. But I'm looking at what he tried to achieve.
Okay, how about this? What is the bolt from the blue, the Deus Ex Machina, which means the God machine? What is the thing that saves the day at the end of The Lord of the Rings? What comes from the sky to save the day?
Always the Eagles.
The Eagles. And what saves the day at the end of the third Hobbit movie? Oh, wait, it's the Eagles.
And what saved them at the end of the first movie? It's the Eagles.
They didn't even try to come up with something original. They just went with the same lame-ass
Yeah, but do you think he made that up?
It doesn't matter, because that's just a terrible, terrible way.
Well, that's what
they changed so much stuff.
Yeah.
They couldn't have changed that.
Yeah, well, they did.
Come on.
They did change a few things with those worm things. That
what are they? Dune suddenly intrudes in the middle of the Hobbit.
Oh, I disagree. They shouldn't.
Sandworms.
They should not have done that.
That is just
There's
weird.
some major problems with this third movie, as well as there's some problems with the other ones. I did enjoy the first and the second movie much more than I did the third movie.
It's really obnoxious.
But at the same time, I'm gonna reserve judgment, because I have found that always the extended versions, to me, are better than the original theatrical releases.
Just what I want, another 45 minutes of padding.
No, it's only going to be about 25 minutes.
Of padding.
Anyway.
More padding.
But they add a little bit of backstory that makes the whole movie make more sense. At least I found that with the first 2 portions of the Hobbit.
I would agree with that. I enjoyed the extended scenes in the Lord of the Rings movies, because those scenes are generally important. And I've seen the extended version of 1 and 2 of The Hobbit, and I didn't find anything there that significantly added to the story for me. I just found it slowed things down, and like I say, I mean, I'm saying that there should have been a 2.5-hour single movie.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Prequel to the Lord of the Rings, and this is like 6 hours, and it's 4 hours too much. It's just way, way too much. I mean, the first movie, they got barrel races. The first movie was.
I could have lived with them getting away in the barrels, because they do that in the novel. But the whole thing with Legolas jumping on their heads and racing the orcs down the riverbed. I started laughing.
Yeah.
I just started laughing.
I don't think it's supposed to be
I'm going,
funny.
this is just dumb.
Yeah.
Why did you do this?
Yeah.
And there are a few scenes like that in it, but overall, I'm enjoying The Hobbit.
Well, it's over now, I hope.
And I'm waiting for the
fourth one.
No, I'm waiting for the extension, the extended version of the last movie, just to see how that enhances the story.
All right.
I was kind of really disappointed at the ending of the third installment. It just wasn't that good.
No.
And I'm told that there are some things that are going to be put in there that's going to make it a little make more sense, like in the book.
Oh, jeez, why didn't he put that in the first version?
I don't know. All I know is that he's going to put some extra stuff at the end.
Well, let's hope it's CGI.
With Bilbo and things like that.
Maybe with some of those fake Muppets that he used. Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap this episode here. That's plenty. We'll just quickly go through them. I think Mark and I wholeheartedly recommend What We Do in the Shadows, the vampire comedy.
Yes.
The Taking of Deborah Logan, I certainly would recommend that.
I think it's a decent movie, but I've seen better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. Well, yeah, when you're talking about senior possession, it's pretty good for one of those. Pernicious, I liked it a lot more than Mark did.
Yes.
Mark thought the women were shallow and stupid.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
they were pretty.
They were pretty, but
you're
the
upset
point,
because they never took their clothes off.
Yes, that's one reason. The second reason is every time they wake up from sleeping, they are dressed to the nines, and they have beautiful makeup, and everything looks pristine.
Right.
They never get mussed.
No.
Give me a break.
Oh, I love it.
Give me a break. It's just so unrealistic.
Residue, a little disappointing. Just sort of felt unfinished.
Yes.
Because it was made
unfinished.
from made from
it was an interesting movie.
Beginning episodes.
I think could have made it a little bit faster, the pacing, and gave it a decent ending. It would have been an okay movie.
Would have been a better movie.
Yeah.
Okay, Seventh Son.
I liked it a lot.
Mark liked it a lot. I didn't. I thought it was derivative and unoriginal and
I think you're crazy.
Childish. And The Giver, even worse.
I don't think it's a terrible movie.
Nah.
I
say pointless?
I don't know. It's one of those utopian movies that just silly. Yeah. There was no point to it, really.
No.
But it looks good.
Yeah.
And,
most of the movies look good.
And the acting was okay. It's just, I don't know why they made it.
No, it's weird. Okay, folks. Oh, and of course, The Hobbit. Mark, again, liked that a lot more than I did. I thought it was a sad way to end the whole 6-movie Lord of the Rings trial.
Well, actually,
that's it for me. I've had it.
It's not really the end. It's the middle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't wait for the Silmarillion to come out. That'll be fun.
Well, there are
get right into the who begat who.
They just released a new Tolkien book, didn't they?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, they did.
That crap.
They did. His son finished off a storyline by him.
Christopher, maybe a grandson. His son is dead, I think.
Is he?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I get him and A.A. Milne mixed up. Two great old English writers. Okay, folks. So that's it from Jerry. What am I saying? What? So it's so long from Jerry.
And goodbye from Mark.
And we'll be back next week with some new movies.
And then we'll be going to our 2-week schedule.
Yeah. So after this episode, it'll be a couple of weeks before you hear our next